I found this bench seat out of an '89 Ford dump truck, and today I'm turning this sad grandpa of a seat into something actually cool. And while I rebuild the whole thing, I will show you exactly how I did it. I ended up buying this bench seat off of Marketplace from a guy who had a pretty impressive collection of old cars and parts. I actually tried pulling one from a junkyard myself at first, but that didn't quite go how I wanted it to. So I eyeballed this super old 1988 F-250 and it's got this absolutely destroyed bench seat. Alright, I'm gonna do the rest of this off camera. There are only 4 bolts. How hard can it possibly be? So, yeah. What I didn't realize at the time was I would end up going to 7 different trucks only to find that every single bolt holding these seats down was rusted so badly it may as well have been welded to the floor. And after 5 hours of accomplishing absolutely nothing, I gave up and just bought one instead. Yeah, I know that sounds like a bit of a quitter attitude, but I never claimed to be good at car stuff. Quite the opposite actually. I kind of hate working on cars. I just like doing the upholstery if I'm honest. Now if you're wondering what I'm actually doing to this bench seat, I'm going to use the old upholstery as my pattern. After years of use and abuse, the material is stretched and warped a little bit, but it's still sitting good and smooth enough to work with. So instead of worrying about all the distortions in the old cover, I'm just drawing directly over it and creating a new layout. In this case, I'm adding a big diamond panel on both the seat base and the backrest with a 5-inch smooth border around everything to tie it all together into one clean diamond bench seat. Now, I'm by no means a master at design or anything, but if you're wondering how I came up with this one, it's actually a very simple process, and I honestly think this one turned out pretty sick. Now, if I want something to look cool or advanced, I pretty much just have one rule. When in doubt, throw a big diamond stitch panel on it. And you know, I'll add a few smooth accents around it to give it a little bit of character and whatnot. But for the most part, I just let the diamonds do all the heavy lifting. And every single time I have done that, it ends up looking awesome 10 times out of 10. And I've never regretted it. So if you're ever stuck on a design and want something to look sick, just throw a big diamond panel on it. But if you don't want to risk anything at all, there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking the seat apart and duplicating the original design the exact way it is. In this case though, I figured I'd try to spice it up a little bit. But more times than not, if I'm actually doing a paid job, people just want their original seats to look brand new again, which usually just makes the process slightly easier. Now if there's one thing I want y'all to remember, and this applies to literally anything you ever sew on a sewing machine, period, it is this. Always put your match marks down. Now you're going to put those match marks down during the patterning stage when you're drawing out your design, and these marks are going to tell you exactly what panels go together and how everything lines up. They are what keep the spacing and tension correct when you're sewing everything together, because if you don't have those, you may accidentally be pulling one panel a little bit too hard and create a bunch of wrinkles. Now when you're sewing and all of your match marks are lining up perfectly, honestly, even close enough. They don't have to be perfect. I'm telling you, 10 times out of 10, it is going to turn out phenomenal. Now, over the years, I have taught a lot of people how to sew in person, and the ones who get the most frustrated and wonder why their work isn't turning out right, it's almost always because they skipped putting down their match marks. So just remember, match marks are your best friend, and they're a massive quality of life. I think they are an absolute necessity. And if you're wondering what the match marks are, if you look at what I was drawing on the seat, they are all those little hash marks I'm drawing on every single seam. Basically, everywhere I'm going to cut, I put a match mark on that line so I know how they go back together. And a quick little side note, I'm sure some of you diehards who really want to learn upholstery are watching this video closely and noticing all the different tools I'm using. So to make everything easier, if you click the little shopping bag icon, I'm going to link everything I can that I'm using in this video down there. And if it is not there, check the description. Basically, I will have absolutely everything I'm using listed on this video to the best of my ability. Now that includes the diamond template pattern, the pencils, sewing machine, everything. So basically, if you want to know what I'm using, go check those 2 places. Because answering the same question 500 times in the comments might be the one upholstery job I am trying to avoid. One thing I always try to do when working on old cushions or seats, especially ones with specialized hardware, is reuse as much of the original hardware as possible. Because a lot of this automotive stuff can be pretty specific, and sometimes it's not always as easy to track down replacements. So whenever I can, I try to keep the original pieces intact. In this case, we have a lot of these plastic clips that are sewn onto the edge of the material, and they just hook onto the bars in the seat frame. And because of that, I'm making a conscious effort to keep track of where each one goes and handle them carefully so I don't break them. And yes, just like I mentioned earlier in the video, I did also add match marks to these just so I can ensure they go exactly where they should. But sometimes you're going to be dealing with hardware that's actually pretty difficult to replace, so it pays to slow down a little bit to make sure you're not damaging anything that the seat actually relies on to function. Now, one thing you might notice is that this backrest I'm working on is actually missing a pretty important piece. It has a large bar that gets attached to the very edge, and it's held to the frame with a bunch of hog rings. So in this case, I don't really have any original hardware to work with, so I do have to get a little bit creative when it comes to sewing this thing back together. Now later in the video, I do end up figuring something out, but I do end up making it work. I already know what some of you are going to ask. What materials am I using and where can I get them? And the answer is pretty simple. Everything I'm using here came from Sailrite. The material itself is called Nook Indoor Faux Leather. There wasn't any super specific reason I chose it other than the fact it looked really good and it was easy to get. And in my opinion, it was one of the better looking fake leathers I could find online. Now this stuff runs at about $24 a yard, which is actually pretty inexpensive for upholstery material. After working with it for a little bit, I really like the way it feels and the way it sews. The only downside is it's not the strongest material in the world. By that I mean the tear strength is a little lower than some other materials I've used, but that doesn't necessarily make it bad. For example, something like ultra leather can run around $120 a yard, which is ridiculous. And that material is far more delicate than this stuff I'm working with. So for the price and the feel and how nicely it sews, I honestly think this is a very solid option, and I'm definitely going to keep using it as a good quality, budget-friendly material. The only thing you should be careful with is putting too many stitch holes in one place, because that will definitely get it to rip. You do have to be a little careful with this stuff, but let's be honest, I was being pretty hardcore and brutal with this stuff on this seat, and it held up just fine. And if you're curious about the exact color, this color is called caramel. Now the same goes for the sew foam I'm using. You can also get that from Sailrite. And for this project, I'm using a mix of 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch sew foam throughout the entire seat. For the diamond panels themselves, I'm using a 1/2 inch sew foam, and everywhere else I'm just using a 1/4 inch. The main reason for this is I want each diamond to have as much body as possible. With diamond stitching, what you really want is texture. You want to see all those shadows between the seams so every diamond really pops. Using the 1/2 inch sew foam instead of 1/4 inch just gives them a little bit extra lift and fullness. It's a small change, but it adds just enough depth to make the pattern stand out a whole lot more. Everywhere else gets 1/4 inch sew foam for basically the same reason. It helps give the panel a nice full look without going overboard. If you used 1/2 inch everywhere, the seams would end up being ridiculously thick with foam stacked together, and that would get pretty ridiculous and annoying. Now as for the original seat foam, I'm not really doing anything to it. I did try steaming it because sometimes the steam can help foam expand back closer to its original shape, but this automotive foam is pretty dense, almost like a closed cell foam, so it didn't really react to the steam at all. But honestly, like I mentioned earlier in the video, the original foam is already in pretty good shape, so there's no reason to mess with it. Between that and the fresh layer of sew foam going onto the upholstery itself, it should give the seat a nice, fresh, full look once everything is put back together. One important thing I should mention about this seat is I'm not actually making this for a paying customer. This one is just for me. I've been wanting to do an old truck bench seat for a while now, and I know a few of you have actually suggested I try something like this, So instead of waiting around for one to come through, I just went on Facebook Marketplace and picked one up for myself. I actually paid $100 for this. Doing it this way gives me a little bit more freedom to try out new ideas because I don't have to worry about the pressure of a customer job if something doesn't go exactly as planned. That being said, this seat isn't just for practice. I do plan on actually using it. The idea is to turn it into a little shop bench or a mini couch that'll sit in the corner of the garage. And honestly, I'm hoping it adds a little character to this space. Because if you can't already tell, my workspace is pretty boring. So this is hopefully the first of a few ideas of interesting shop furniture I can add to make the place feel a little bit more put together. Now what you're watching me do here is what I mentioned earlier in the video. Since this backrest is missing the metal bar that normally holds the top of the upholstery in place, I had to come up with another way to support it. So what I'm doing is patterning a large flap that will cover the back side of this backrest. The plan is to sew this flap into the top of the backrest and then it will zipper to the bottom of the seat. I'm going to keep it fairly snug so it has a little bit of tension, which will help pull the upholstery tight and hold the top of the backrest in place. Right now the seat is only being held down on 3 sides, so this is basically my way of giving that top edge some support. All those marks you saw me making earlier were done with a white washout pencil. It's nice because it disappears with water, and what I'm doing there is marking the exact area where I want this flap to cover. My goal with this piece is to make sure none of the internal parts of the seat are visible, so I'm drawing out the full perimeter of the area I want hidden. From there, I lay down some double-sided tape and stick a sheet of plastic over the back side of the seat. And you can get this plastic at Sailrite as well. Link in the description. Then I retrace all of the lines I just marked. That transfers to the pattern onto the plastic, which I can then cut out and use to transfer the shape directly onto the material. That way I end up with an exact copy of the back panel and I can sew it together exactly the way I want. And honestly, you'll see at the end of the video, but this little workaround actually turned out pretty well and I'm happy with how it came together. Now that whole process you just watched is basically how I go about patterning everything. It doesn't matter if I'm working on a flat surface and planning how I'm going to split up a seat, making a boat cover, or even something like a lace-on shade. The process always starts the same way, and that's with plastic. What I'll first do is tape off the entire perimeter or any surface the plastic is going to touch. Then I'll stick down a bunch of plastic and essentially build the entire thing I'm trying to make out of plastic first. Because that's really what patterning is. You're making a rough version of the finished piece with plastic so you can draw all over it, mark everything out, and then transfer that plastic to your material and then sew it all together. And it's that exact same concept with upholstery. Now this example was about as simple as a pattern can get, which is just one simple flat piece, but the same idea still applies even when things get more complicated. If I'm reshaping a cushion and adding a lot of curves and complex cuts into the foam, I'll mark the foam first, then cover it with plastic. But instead of tape, I'll usually hold it in place with pins, and I'll basically build the entire cushion out of plastic the exact same way. Then I mark everything up and transfer that pattern to the material. So this is definitely a simple version of patterning in the video, but it's pretty much the same steps I follow every single time I make a pattern, regardless on the complexity. For this flap I'm making here, the idea is that it's going to function as a loose hanging panel sewn to the top of the back side of the backrest. Then the bottom edge of that flap will connect to the lower back side of the backrest via a zipper. I am intentionally not making this panel oversized. I'm erring on the side of slightly smaller. That way when I zip it together, it puts a good amount of tension on the panel and pulls everything tight. This is a method I've actually used before on car seats, and it works really well because it accomplishes 2 things at once. First, it acts as an anchor point that helps secure the upholstery skin, and second, it's a really convenient way to hide any internal mechanisms or structure inside whatever project you're working on. With that panel finished, the backrest is officially done, and now we can move on to the seat base. And the seat base is quite simpler than the backrest, so this part moves along much faster and smoother, but the process is exactly the same. Since you already watched me cut apart the backrest and trace out all the individual panels, I'm not going to show that again here because it's literally the exact same steps. And if you really want to see that process, then you can just go back and watch the backrest section again because it's the exact same way. But regardless, the seat base follows the exact same workflow from start to finish. I marked everything up, patterned it, cut the panels apart, and then transferred them onto the new material. I made sure and added the appropriate 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch sew foam where needed, and then I made sure all of my match marks lined up properly, and then I just put everything back together in the same order I took it apart. And honestly, that is the entire concept behind doing a bench seat like this. It is not particularly complicated. The hardest part is just the time involved and having the patience to see it through. So even though this video will probably end up being around 20 minutes and change, each one of these diamond panels you see took me over 2 hours to complete a piece. So by the time everything was finished, I had about 10 hours into this bench seat from start to finish. But if you can stay patient and stick with it, then there's no reason you can't end up with something that looks as good as this, if not better. Now, I would like to talk about today's sponsor for this video, myself. While I try to give you guys all the information you could possibly need, the fact is some of you need more information than what these videos are capable of giving. Now, I've gotten a lot of requests asking if I have an online course or if I do in-person classes, and while I don't have the time or resources to offer that right now, I did launch something I am calling the Upholstery Workshop. Basically, it's just my channel memberships. It's $10 a month, but what that gets you is 3 live streams a month for the foreseeable future where we go over anything you possibly want to know. Now, I'm not just trying to make this stuff up. I am a current working professional, and that is where the majority of my money comes from, is doing upholstery jobs. So I go over things like how to quote jobs, how I run my business, things to look out for, and projects ranging from beginner level all the way to advanced. But the real value is being able to interact with me and ask questions that are directly related to what you are trying to achieve. Whether you're trying to start your own business, expand your services, or you couldn't care less about the business side and just want to get really good at upholstery as fast as possible, that is exactly what this workshop is for. Now, I'm not trying to hide anything behind a paywall, but I do know some of you want more information and you want it faster. So if you're curious, go take a look. It's called the Upholstery Workshop, and you will find it through my channel memberships. And without further ado, let's take a gander at this finished bench seat. Alright, well, that is pretty much how I made this bench seat, and the only thing left to do is to figure out if it actually works or not. So, without further ado, well, I guess it works.